Everything leads to this. The moment that will decide who escapes and who gets left behind. Bloodlines will be tested, promises will break, and one wrong step could destroy generations of love. In episode 10 of Blood of My Blood, time itself becomes a trap. Henry and Julia's desperate plan to escape might finally bring them freedom, or it might seal their fate forever. The episode begins not with chaos, but silence. The kind of silence that carries fear, love, and decisions that can't be undone. Henry stands by the window, the light flickering across his face as he reads the letter one last time. The letter Julia slipped into his pocket the night before. Every word bleeds with urgency. Meet me at Castle Leathers at dawn. Bring William. That's all it says, but the meaning is clear. Tonight they are running. For days, Henry and Julia have lived like shadows, always watched, always suspected. After the tragedy of episode 9, every move they make feels heavier. Simon Fraser's warning still echoes in Henry's mind. You cannot change what's already written. But Henry doesn't believe that. He's willing to risk time itself if it means saving Julia and little William. Julia, on the other hand, has stopped believing in destiny. She believes only in survival. Her eyes no longer hold fear, they hold resolve. The kind only a mother feels when everything she loves is on the edge of being taken away. She knows the cost of running. She knows the punishment for betrayal. But she also knows that staying means losing everything. As the night deepens, Julia quietly prepares William's clothes, folding them with trembling hands. Every sound in the house feels louder. The creak of the floor, the cry of the wind. Somewhere in the shadows, a secret watcher moves. She doesn't know it yet, but the brothel worker who overheard her conversation with Henry has already betrayed them. Simon's men are awake. Their hunt begins before the sun does. Meanwhile, across the village, Henry buys 2 train tickets under false names. The destination, Ines, a small town that means nothing to most. But to them, it's the last stop before the stones, a place where hope and history blur together. When he glances down at the tickets, he notices something strange. The number printed at the corner, 1714. The same year they once read about in Claire's old journals. The year their story truly began. Coincidence or warning? Henry can't tell, but he keeps the tickets close, like a charm against fate. In another part of the Highlands, tension brews. Word spreads that Ellen Mackenzie has vanished. Her wedding day turned into a scandal, and her disappearance has enraged both Malcolm Grant and his uncle. This will be paid in blood, one of them vows. But not all blood is meant for vengeance. Some is meant for love, forbidden love that refuses to die. Brian Fraser, unaware that destiny is pushing all their lives toward the same breaking point, rides through the storm with Murtaugh by his side. They speak little, but every silence between them carries regret. Murtaugh once swore never to help Brian again. Yet here he is, sword in hand, chasing redemption. He knows the pain of losing someone to duty, and he won't let that happen to Brian and Ellen. Back in the present timeline, Julia stares into the mirror. Her reflection looks like a stranger, someone braver, colder. She remembers Claire's words, "Love is the most dangerous kind of time travel." She finally understands what that means. To love Henry is to defy centuries, to bend fate, to risk being erased from history itself. But she doesn't care. She's ready to vanish if it means being free. The clock strikes 4. Their plan is set in motion. Henry meets Julia at the riverbank under the fading stars. The air is thick, heavy, alive with tension. He whispers her name, and for a brief moment, time seems to stop. It's the kind of silence that comes before thunder. She looks up, holding William tightly, and says, "It's now or never." They move quickly through the trees, heading toward Castle Leathers. But something feels wrong. Henry keeps looking over his shoulder. He can almost feel eyes watching them. The shadows stretch long and dark, and every sound feels like a footstep following. When they finally reach the old bridge near the castle, Julia stops. "Do you hear that?" she asks. Henry listens and hears it too. The faint echo of horses in the distance. They're not alone anymore. The chase has begun. The sound of hooves breaks the silence of the highlands. They're closer now, the men sent by Simon Fraser, riding through the fog with torches in hand. The air smells of rain and gunpowder. Julia clutches William tighter, his small face pressed against her shoulder. Henry grabs her hand, and without another word, they start to run. Every path looks the same. Every shadow hides danger. The only light comes from the torches behind them, flickering like eyes of fire. The stones are still miles away. If they can reach the old bothy near the ridge before dawn, they might have a chance to rest and plan their next move. But the forest isn't quiet. The trees seem to whisper, and the echo of their pursuers grows louder with every heartbeat. Henry's mind races as fast as his feet. He remembers the stories Claire once told about time travel, the gemstones, and the price of crossing centuries. He has one small ruby, a gift from Julia's mother, tucked safely inside his coat. Could it be enough? Could a single gem open the door to another time? He doesn't know, but it's the only hope they have left. Behind them, a gunshot cuts through the mist. The bullet misses, striking a tree just inches from Julia's head. She doesn't scream. She only runs faster. Fear is replaced by pure instinct now. She glances back and catches sight of one of the riders, Bollock, Simon Fraser's most loyal guard, his face cold as steel. He shouts something she can't hear, but the meaning is clear. They're not chasing to capture. They're chasing to kill. At the same time, in another part of the Highlands, Brian Fraser faces a different kind of chase. He and Murtagh have finally tracked Ellen's wedding procession, only to discover that the ceremony has already begun. The priest's voice rises above the murmurs of the crowd, and Malcolm Grant stands beside a veiled bride. But Murtagh notices something strange. The bride's hands are trembling, and her build seems wrong. It isn't Ellen. "Something's not right," he mutters, stepping closer. Brian's heart pounds. If Ellen isn't there, where is she? Then it hits him. She's already running. He turns to Murtagh, his voice breaking through the storm. "She's gone to me. She's gone to me." Without another word, the two mount their horses and charge down the road, the thunder of hooves matching the rhythm of fate. Back to Henry and Julia. Their bodies ache, their clothes soaked from the rain. They finally reach the bothy, a small stone shelter hidden among the hills. It looks abandoned, half covered in ivy, but to them it feels like salvation. Henry pushes open the heavy door, guiding Julia and William inside. For the first time in hours, there's silence. Julia collapses near the small hearth, gasping for breath. "We can't run forever," she whispers. Henry kneels beside her. "We don't have to. Just till dawn." He reaches into his pocket, pulling out the ruby. It glows faintly under the dim light. Claire said it was the key. If the stones are real, this could take us to another time, somewhere safe. Julia stares at the gem, her eyes wide with disbelief. And if it doesn't? "Then at least we tried," he says, his voice trembling. "At least we didn't stay and die here." Outside, thunder rumbles again. The sound feels too close, too deliberate. It's not thunder, it's horses. Bollock and two other men have tracked them to the bothy. Henry's hand tightens around the gem. He tells Julia to stay hidden with William. She refuses. "If we die together." The door bursts open. Bollock enters first, gun raised, his torch casting monstrous shadows on the walls. "You can't outrun the past," he sneers. Henry doesn't answer. He waits for the right moment, the breath before the shot. When Bollock pulls the trigger, Henry lunges forward, knocking the gun aside. The bullet grazes his arm, but he doesn't stop. He fights with the kind of strength that comes only from love and desperation. Julia grabs a piece of broken wood from the hearth and swings it. striking another guard in the head. The fight is brutal, fast, and silent except for the sound of struggle and rain hammering on the roof. Finally, Henry pins Bollock against the wall, his face inches from his enemies. "You don't understand," Henry growls. "This isn't your time to win." Bollock spits blood and laughs. "No, but it's yours to lose." Before Henry can react, Bollock slams him backward, reaching for his dagger. Julia screams his name, and in that moment, something strange happens. The ruby in Henry's pocket begins to glow. Not just a flicker, a bright, pulsing light that fills the room. The air crackles like lightning. Julia shields William's eyes as the glow spreads across the walls, swallowing the darkness. Bollock stumbles back, terrified, as if seeing something not meant for his eyes. Henry's voice trembles. "Julia, hold on to me." She reaches for him, clutching his hand tight. The world around them begins to distort, colors melting, sound twisting. The last thing Julia hears before everything fades is the distant echo of her own heartbeat. And then silence. The storm is gone. The bothy is empty. Only the ruby lies on the ground, its light slowly fading away. Outside, Bollock looks around in disbelief. There's no trace of them. No footprints, no bodies. Just the echo of the wind. He drops to his knees, whispering in fear. They're gone through the stones." Henry gasps for air as if he's been pulled from deep water. The sound of rain is gone, replaced by the distant call of birds and the soft rustle of leaves. The ground beneath him is warm, not wet. He opens his eyes to find himself lying on a grassy hill under a pale morning sky. The air feels different, cleaner, older. Julia is beside him, clutching William against her chest. For a long moment, none of them move. They're too afraid to. Afraid that if they breathe, the moment will vanish, and they'll wake up back in the storm. "Where are we?" Julia whispers. Henry looks around. The bothy is gone. The forest looks the same, yet somehow untouched, younger, wilder. He sees smoke in the distance, a small village that shouldn't exist anymore. Slowly, realization begins to dawn. They've done it. The ruby worked. They've crossed time. Julia rises to her feet, her face pale but alive with wonder and fear. She turns toward the stones behind them, tall, ancient monoliths humming faintly with a sound she can't quite hear but can feel deep inside her bones. The stones of time, the same stones her daughter once spoke of. Henry reaches for her hand. "We made it," he says softly, almost not believing his own words. "We're in 1714. But even as relief washes over them, a new kind of terror creeps in. They are strangers now, strangers in another century. No friends, no family, no future they can understand, only survival. Julia looks down at William, his small fingers gripping her sleeve. "We can't stay here long," she says. "Someone will notice us." Henry nods, but his mind is elsewhere. The ruby, now dim and cracked in his palm. Its power is gone. The path back to their own time is closed. Meanwhile, back in the original timeline, Simon Fraser stands in front of the empty bothy, the smell of burnt air still lingering. Bollock kneels beside him, terrified, unable to explain what he saw. Simon touches the wall. It feels cold, like stone that has witnessed something impossible. His expression hardens. "No one speaks of this," he commands. Not a word. They were never here. But deep inside, Simon knows what happened. He's seen this before, not with his own eyes, but in the whispers of old legends passed down through generations. The stones, the travelers, the ones who defy time. He looks toward the horizon and mutters, "History will catch them, it always does." Back in 1714, Julia and Henry make their way toward the village. Everything feels surreal, the clothes, the language, even the smell of the air. People stare as they pass, their modern accents giving them away. Henry invents a quick lie, that they are travelers from the north, displaced by war. The villagers believe him, offering them bread and a place to rest in an old barn. That night, as the fire burns low, Julia finally allows herself to breathe. "We did it," she whispers, more to herself than to Henry. "We escaped." Henry looks into the flames. Yes, but from what to what? He can't stop thinking of Claire, of the story she told, of how the stones take as much as they give. They've changed their fate, but at what cost? Suddenly, a sound outside breaks the silence. Footsteps. Heavy, deliberate. Henry tenses, reaching for the small knife he's kept hidden. But it's not an enemy. The door opens slowly, and standing there, half in shadow, is a man they both recognize from the portraits in Claire's books. Brian Fraser. For a heartbeat, none of them speak. Time itself seems to hold its breath. Brian looks at them. A man, a woman, and a child dressed strangely, their faces pale from shock and travel. There's something familiar in Julia's eyes, something he can't explain. "Are you lost?" he asks, his voice cautious but kind. Julia exchanges a glance with Henry. Her lips tremble. "You could say that," she answers softly. Brian steps closer, the firelight touching his face. The resemblance is unmistakable, the same eyes, the same calm strength. Henry realizes who he's looking at. "Brian Fraser," he says under his breath, almost reverently. "Claire's grandfather." Julia's heart races. Everything connects in a single, impossible moment. They've not just traveled through time. They've crossed into their own family's past. Brian, sensing their fear, offers a small smile. "You can stay here for the night," he says. "It's not much, but it's safe. You have my word." Julia whispers a quiet thank you, her voice breaking. She doesn't dare tell him who they are, not yet. Some truths, she knows, could shatter everything. As Brian leaves them to rest, Julia turns to Henry. "Do you think this is where we're meant to be?" Henry looks at William, asleep in her arms. "Maybe fate didn't bring us here to escape. Maybe it brought us here to begin." Outside, the wind moves through the trees like a whisper of time itself. The stones stand silent on the hill, their light now gone, but not their memory. Somewhere far in the future, Claire Fraser will one day touch those same stones, chasing the same echo of love that began right here. The cycle continues. Blood calls to blood. And the story isn't over yet.